ball. Basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court, just like I'm the king on the microphone. So is Dr. J and Moses Malone. I like slam dunks and taking it to the hoop. My favorite play is the alley-oop. I like the pick and roll, I like the give and go, cause it's basketball by Mr. Curtis Blow.
At that time.
Where was Oscar Robertson?
I was going to say I didn't see him play, but for my family, it was always Oscar Robertson.
Yeah.
Oscar Robertson. So I would take Oscar at the point.
You know, when you talk about Oscar Robertson, I was on a panel with Oscar Robertson and Jerry West in Los Angeles. And to hear Jerry West and to see Jerry West talk about Oscar Robertson, and I never forget, he moved up and he was like, look, I know I'm the logo and everything else. He said, but in my era, there was no better basketball player than Oscar Robertson.
Amen.
And Oscar was sitting right there.
Right.
And you know, Oscar said, you right, Jerry.
Oscar Robertson and Wilt Chamberlain are great examples of what basketball in the 60s was like. Offensively, they were not flashy because flashy didn't exist. The whole mindset of the 60s was pass the ball and get it to your tallest players near the basket so they can score. If that wasn't possible, your goal is to get as close to the basket as you could to take your shot. In the 60s, there was no incentive for players to take long jump shots because it was all worth the same 2 points.
Reggie, what is your initial gut telling you about this team of the 70s?
Out of all the decades, to me, this was the hardest because you just mentioned like 9 or 10 guys, and I had a list of 16 or 17. And what gets lost in the translation is that was at the time when there was a transition, because obviously the NBA was just getting ready to kind of evolve, but you also had the ABA, and they get lost in the shuffle here.
And change was also coming to the world of basketball, thanks to a young college star named Julius Erving.
I think freshman year, I recognized that there was a little bit of difference between my game and the other kids.
The man nicknamed Dr. J took the game to incredible new heights. With acrobatic moves and soaring slam dunks, he brought showmanship to the NBA, and he seemed to improvise in midair.
Physicality and rivalries are what defined basketball in the 80s. This decade saw some of the greatest basketball teams of all time, from Bird Celtics to Magic's Lakers and even the Bad Boys Pistons. The Bad Boys Pistons were special because of their unselfish style of play and extreme physicality. The 80s also saw an increase in jump shots as well as flashy moves. Many of the flashy passes you see from today's stars like LeBron James, Larry Bird was doing 35 years ago.
You see, I'm 6'1" and I'm tons of fun, and I dress to a T. You see, I got more clothes than Muhammad Ali, and I dress so viciously. I got bodyguards, I got 2 big guns that definitely ain't the whack. I got a Lincoln Continental, man, some So after school, I take a dip in the pool, which is really on the wall. I got a color TV so I can see the Knicks play basketball. Him and juggle my checkbook, cause it costs more money than a sucker could ever spend. But I wouldn't give a sucker or a punk from the rock and not a dime till I
The 1990s was the decade of dunking. Some of the best players and dunkers came from the 90s. Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, Vince Carter, and more. Defense was at its finest with the leader of steals with 3,265, John Stockton. Michael Jordan was at second, and Jason Kidd was at third. All those three players played in the 90s. Physicality and intensity was at the highest during the 90s, with Pippen, Jordan, and Rodman responsible. It is up for debate as one of the most competitive NBA decades ever.
In the face of incredibly physical defense. While zone principles weren't allowed like they are now, the mano-a-mano battles created real drama and intrigue. And the fact that defenders could use their bodies more to balance out the offensive brilliance lent a real manliness to the games. You better not come into the lane unless you were bringing it.
The 2000s were dominated by the Los Angeles Lakers under the coaching of Phil Jackson and the San Antonio Spurs under the coaching of Greg Popovich. From 2000 to 2009, the Spurs won 3 titles while the Lakers made it to the final 6 times and came out on top 4 of those 6 times. The most dominant players during that era for the Lakers were Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili for the Spurs. Other known All-Stars include LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Kevin Garnett, and more. The play style drastically changed also. It was the introduction to small ball, sacrificing players' height for smaller, agile, fluid scorers. Small ball teams build around strong forwards such as LeBron James. The other players on the team switch positions when needed.
I like the way you brush your hair, and I like those stylish clothes you wear. I like the way the light hit the ice and glare, and I can see you moving way over there.
Waking up in a dream, sleepwalking on another big stage. You never heard peace till you hear people scream.
2010 to present time is up for debate as the best years of NBA basketball. The three-point era, kick and drive, and transition offense has taken over the NBA, where today's athleticism and skills are the most elite the NBA has ever seen. Some of the most dominant players have taken advantage of these changes. Stephen Curry is statistically one of the best shooters to ever touch a basketball, blowing out his own shooting records left and right. LeBron James setting NBA records with ease when it comes to his position. Players learning to play all 5 positions in basketball and being able to compete 100% at those positions. Seeing 6'7" point guards such as Ben Simmons bringing the ball up the court, and point guards with the capability to score over big men such as Damian Lillard and Russell Westbrook. We witness fast-paced games with its fair share of dunks, blocks, and mesmerizing shots that sell out arenas, where teams have been making super teams just to compete with today's competition. We now see big men shooting threes with no problem and 6'3" point guards dunking the ball with authority.
So for me, it's just more of me in your ear. For you to hear Kendrick persevere, defenses I feel relentless. Ambition with a clear vision. Taking off, I ain't taking off these pistons. I'm taking off on the enemy. Your distance came across me. How much it cost me to get you out my business? I set a planet, it's a short-term goal. No sky is the limit. I'm past that, now past that. Award not 1 but 4 times 2 plus yours.
I see myself performing that. Sold out.